Hiya, how you doing? Jimmy here. If you haven't seen me before, I'm converting a Citroen Relay panel van into a stealth camper van. Now it's half finished and we have been using it in the summer, but we've taken it off the road now over the winter to carry on and do some more of the build. But I went to move it the other day and it's died on me. Wouldn't have it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to revive a dead camper van. Now, of course, this procedure doesn't only apply to camper vans. It is basically the same procedure for any petrol or diesel motor vehicle with a battery. And it might be more poignant at this time of year because you might be going back to work after your Christmas break to find your car doesn't want to start. So this might be useful for you too. Now, when I say my camper van is dead, I'm referring to the electrics, i.e. the battery. Now, what causes the battery to go flat? The most common reason is people forget to turn things off. So there's something left on and it drains the battery. Another close second to that is inactivity. If you leave your vehicle and don't start it, especially in the winter, because as I said in my maintenance video, everything is harder to work in the cold. Going back to my video, if you haven't seen that, I'll leave a link at the end of this video. But it might not be the battery. There might be the other common causes, but there might be something else. The alternator might not be charging. The drive belt might be slipping or broken. The wiring, you could have a loose lead on your battery. You could have a broken earth strap from your engine. And there's more. They are just the common reasons. But most of the time, it's just one of the first two. Either something's been left on or you haven't run it for a while in the cold weather. Now, I'm pretty sure that's all that's wrong with mine. But we'll see. So how do you know if it's the flat battery? Most of you will probably know, but some might not. The first sign is your engine turns over very, very slowly and sounds like that. So sometimes it clicks as well. Sometimes the solenoid clicks like a little machine gun. Sometimes if you've got your headlights on, which you shouldn't have when you're trying to start it anyway, but if you have and your headlights go dim, your dashboard lights might go dim or go off. Sometimes even your radio will turn itself off and need to be recorded because it thinks the battery's been disconnected. So that's the symptoms, but as I say, at this stage you still don't know what it is. If you've got a voltmeter in your van, you can check that. 12.1, that's not good. Should be higher than that, but we'll check that later when we get it started. Now, the best way to do this is to give your battery a trickle charge, and it's best to take one of the leads off and do a trickle charge, but that will take a lot of time, and most people don't have the time and they want to be somewhere and they want to get it going now, or even to get you home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to jump start your vehicle off another car. And for that, you're going to need some jump leads. I've got two sets of jump leads here today, and I'm going to use the long ones today simply because the battery on my van is underneath the floor. If you were just doing it for a car, a shorter set would be better actually. And they need to be color coded to match your battery. Red for the positive and black for the negative. I priced some jump leads online last night, and they range from the cheapest one was £7 and the dearest one was about £120. Now, I wouldn't recommend you spend anywhere near £120, but again, the little cheap ones sometimes don't work. I used to have a breakdown service and I used to go out and the customers used to say, no, I've already tried that. And when you looked at their jump leads, they were little thin things, and you can't do it with them. I'll tell you about that later, but better to get some heavy duty ones if you can. And the ones you buy now will not look like the two I've got here, because I made the long ones here anyway for my breakdown truck, because we had an 18-foot bed on the back, and to reach the car I needed longer ones. The cables themselves are red and black these days, which makes it even easier. Right, something else we need is a vehicle to jump off, so I'll just go and get my car and we'll get cracking. Now, just before we connect the jump leads on, it might be policy to just have a look and see if you can see what caused it. It would give you peace of mind if you knew that you'd left the lights on or something like that. So just go around, see if there's anything left on, and might be a good thing to check the battery leads as well, because it might just be a loose lead on the battery. If not, we'll get on and do the jump start. Now, you need a vehicle to jump off, and make sure that everything is turned off on both the vehicles, the donor and the receiver, because you want all the power from the battery to go to starting the vehicle. You don't want it to be running the lights or anything like that, so make sure everything is turned off on both vehicles. The next thing to do is to get your jump leads out and untangle them and lay them along the floor. And I don't know if you noticed before when I showed you the jump leads, that's how I store mine. The reason is, from now on, you don't want these two ends to touch on either end. Obviously do it on the insulation, and do it where the insulation is thick, because you don't want to break through the insulation, because then you'll short the battery out. But if you get good quality leads, you can store them like that and they'll be fine. And then I'll get the other lead. Now you must, I don't know if you've seen the motorbike video that I did, but I explained about the polarity, and it's the same. You must put red to red, black to black. And that's your donor core connected. Give them a bit of a wiggle, make sure they've got a good connection, and make sure they're not going to be in the way of anything that's going to turn when you start the engine up, and not going to get caught and pulled off. And now you can see that's fine. If they touched now, there would be fireworks, there would be sparks everywhere. But you're not going to get a shock because it's only 12 volts, so you don't need to worry about getting a shock, but there will be sparks if they touch. Right, we're about to connect up to the dead vehicle now. I just thought I should have said, don't lay them on anything metal where the two can touch. If you lay them on a metal bench, or you laid them on some tools, and the tools could too, they would still short the battery out. Now we're going to connect to the dead vehicle. Now, to connect to the dead vehicle, we're going to connect the live onto the live, red to the red, live to live onto the battery, but we're not going to put the earth onto the earth side of the battery. The reason for that is batteries give off hydrogen when there's chemical changes in the battery, for example, when they're on charge. And hydrogen is very inflammable and explosive. I don't know if you remember the old airships, the Zeppelins in the 1930s. The first ones were filled with hydrogen, and there was a lot of accidents, a lot of people got killed and a lot of explosions. Then they changed them to helium, just because hydrogen is so explosive, so you don't want any sparks. And if you're connecting a fully charged battery to a fully discharged battery, there will be sparks. And the bigger the difference between the charge of the two batteries, the more likely there is of sparks. If you connect the two batteries with the same charge, there would be no spark because there's no transfer of power. But my battery is fully charged. This one's 12.2 volts. There will be a spark. So connect the red lead onto the red terminal of the battery. Now you don't want to put that near the battery just in case there's any hydrogen around. So you want to put it somewhere on the body. Now I'll try it on there. You've got to make it a good connection, give it a wiggle and put it there. Now that's the two connected. Now what we'll do is we'll start the donor car up and let it run for a couple of minutes just to put a little bit of charge in first, and then we should be good to go. Okay, I've had to move the earth from the door pillar because it wasn't a very good connection. And the only other place I can see is the earth strap, but I've put it on the body side of the earth strap, not the battery side of the earth strap. It's still closer than I would like, but there's nowhere else. So if there is somewhere else on your vehicle, put it as far away as you can. But if not, you've got to do what you've got to do. So it's about, I don't know, about 6 inches to a foot off the battery. That'll have to do. I didn't tell you before why you start the donor car. There's two reasons why you start the donor car. Firstly is, if it has trouble starting, you don't want to flatten the battery on the donor car, because then you're going to have two dead vehicles. So if you run the engine, you're not going to flatten the battery on the donor car. Another thing is, when you're running the engine, it's not just the battery that you're getting the alternator voltage as well. So a battery on its own, fully charged battery on its own, 12.7 volts. When you start the engine up, the alternator charging rate is between 13.8 and 15 volts. So you're going to get extra power as well. So that's why you start the donor vehicle, which is what I'll do now, and then I'll try it and see if it starts. I'm going to unclip the microphone because the lead's going to be catching on things. Right. Well, there we go, it started. If you've got somebody to help you and they can put a few revs on the... well, plugging the mic in there seemed to make the phone go out of sync. So what I was saying was, if you've got somebody to help you rev the donor car up, that would help as well. And not to rev a cold engine. It's not very good for the engine. The oil's not around yet or anything. So don't rev a cold engine any more than you have to. Don't turn your engine straight off now, because it won't start again. You'll have to let it run for a while. Giving it a bit of a drive is much better, but it's still not as good as a trickle charge. So if you haven't got time for a trickle charge, give it a good at least half an hour's drive. Mine's running like a little bird now. I'm going to check the charging rate in a second. If you can remember, it was 12.2 before. It should be between 13.8 and 15 volts now that it started up, if the alternator's working properly. And those other faults I said it could be at the beginning. If it was a starter motor, connecting jump leads on wouldn't work. So if you've connected jump leads on, make sure you've connected them properly. But if you've done that and it still won't start, it might be your starter motor or the earth strap from your engine. The fact that mine's starting rules out the starter motor, and I know my battery leads are tight, and I've just got to check the voltage, and then that'll confirm the alternator's charging properly, and then we're good to go. That's confirmed that mine was caused by not starting it up for a while in the cold. Check on the charging rate. 13.5, that's not that high. I've got nobody here to rev the engine up, but it should be higher than that. It is charging, but not quite as high as it should be. Well, that's how you jump start a vehicle. To disconnect the leads, just a reverse of the connection. don't let them touch, clip them onto themselves, and that'll be fine. I hope your vehicle starts if you've got a problem. As you seen, my charging rate was a little bit low. It's only 0.3 of a volt, so it's probably not the end of the world. It hadn't been running very long. Probably when I give it a run it'll be much better. Something to keep my eye on anyway. And it is very cold today. It's only 1 degree in here in the garage. It's probably colder outside in the northeast. So it just shows what a bit of cold can do, which is why it's very important to maintain your vehicles in the winter. Did I mention I had a video about it? I'll leave a link at the end. Check it out. You might be interested. But that's it for today. And since it's nearly Christmas and nearly the end of the year, there won't be any more videos till next year now. Now that's the end of my first 6 months on YouTube. I'd like to thank everybody who's watched my videos, and a special thanks for those of you who've subscribed. And I wish you all a very happy Christmas and see you in the new year. Thanks for watching.